And the Carolina Hurricanes have finally made the move that I think everyone was thinking was going to happen, as they needed a big-time offensive man, and they found one in the great Dane Nikolaj Ehlers, as they signed him to a nice fat contract that I think is good for the team, and I'm going to see and talk about what else they need to do to this roster to make them the Stanley Cup champions they want to be. So let's talk all about it. So welcome back to the O Hockey Show, and today we are talking about Nikolaj Ehlers' contract signing and the rest of the Hurricanes roster, and talk about, is this a Stanley Cup winning team? What do they need to become that? Let's talk about it. So, Nikolaj Ehlers signs a 6-year by $8.5 million contract with the Carolina Hurricanes, and he will be playing in Raleighwood as his new home. And to me, contract-wise, I think most people, everyone's in agreement, this is a super fair contract. I think this might be a slight overpay, just because, it's the supply of demand, right? He's a big name, biggest name winger for a team that needs offense. I think he gets paid like maybe $1 million extra to what's maybe fair value, maybe. But at the same time, it's a totally super contract, right? 6 years walks him to 35 years old. I think that's a perfect amount of time. It's $8.5 million, especially in this explosion era of the cap. Super fine contract all around. This is a guy that gets 20 goals a season, at least 20 goals a season. I think can become a 35-goal scorer in a healthy year, and a better top 6 position on a team like the Hurricanes other than the Winnipeg Jets. And I think he'll get more power play time. I think he'll get more offensive minutes than other guys like Kyle Connor maybe taking up those kind of slots. And to me, this fits him perfectly. And the Hurricanes get a man that they've needed, an offensive tool. He's not an offensive machine. He's not some lethal, brutal bullet that is going to knock out other teams and take over games. But he's a guy that'll definitely sneak in a few more goals than this team had in the lineup already. And this is exactly what they needed. I think in his best season, he could get maybe 82 points, be a point-per-game player. But in an average season, you are going to get out of Nikolaj Ehlers close to 30 goals. That on average, I think he might start, he could, in this maybe higher position on the Hurricanes, get to maybe consistently like 32 or something. But that's more goals than they're getting out of someone else that they already had in the lineup, right? These are goals that they didn't have previously. He's a guy that will, no matter what, get to the 60s in points. He'll have 20 goals on the season. And I think that's a fine name. I think they are going to wake up tomorrow being a better team than they were before with this. And I think this is all super. This is all super for them, right? And for a team that is as desperate as the Hurricanes for a guy and some guys in the lineup to bring some offensive machinery and offensive just mindedness, it's the Hurricanes. To me, the Hurricanes remind me a lot of what the Islanders were in around 2020, 2019, like that era where they were making the Eastern Conference Finals, and it's because they were a really, really, really well-rounded team that played extremely good defense, had a great goalie, and had good enough offense to beat out other teams, but they were never going to win the Stanley Cup because they didn't take that next step forward in the offensive category. That's what the Hurricanes are. They're a team that are super, super good all around on the ice, defensively, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Definitely a little bit need something maybe, but we'll talk about it in a minute. But these last 7 seasons they made the playoffs, super strong defensively. Always had a strong goaltender in it. If it was Ronta, if it's Freddie now, they have always had a goalie they can depend upon. Offensively, though, they've never really been that lethal. They've needed someone to step up to the bat. And Ehlers, I don't know if he is the guy that's going to step in and he becomes their Conn Smythe Trophy guy, right? That's not who Ehlers is, but he's adding that offensive edge that this team needs, that maybe in a series against the Florida Panthers, not this time. This time they were crumbled. They were absolutely stomped on. But 2 years ago, when they played the Panthers and they lost one-goal games, 3 overtime games, and were right there to be going to the Stanley Cup Finals. And maybe, who knows, maybe they beat the Vegas Golden Knights that year. Who knows? But he's someone that could have maybe eked in that 1 goal. Maybe those 2 goals in a series that changes something, right? I can see Nikolaj Ehlers being that kind of guy. The only thing that holds them back is the fact that they have a huge centerman problem. I know everyone talks about the Avalanche having centerman problems. Yeah, they do. Now they got Nelson, so I guess they kind of solved it a little bit. But the Hurricanes, though, Jesperi Kotkaniemi on the second line. Jordan Staal on the third line. That is a huge time X for me. This is a team that is desperate for one more depth centerman. One more centerman to push the depth down. Aho at number 1, fantastic. I love Sebastian Aho. Svechnikov on the top line as well. Love Svechnikov, especially if he stays healthy. And now if he goes under, they got Ehlers who can step up to bat unlike they had before. And then on the right side of the ice, I know I'm going to talk about centerman, but on the right side of ice, it's beautiful. Seth Jarvis, super young kid, great on the penalty kill, gets tons of points, gets tons of goals, only growing. 67 points this year. He's someone I could totally see growing into an 80-point player. And in maybe not this year, or maybe this year he takes that step forward, but he's someone I think is a 70s points player. I think he is that next strata of 70s in points. And with Aho becoming, I think maybe starting to become a point per game player as well. Fantastic stuff, right? Right side of the ice again, Jackson Blake, 17 goals, 17 assists this year. He's totally going to break that and get into the 40s of points, I think. If not the 50s of points, I think he could get to the 20s of goals as well. And if he can take that next step forward, if Jarvis gets to maybe have a big year for him, maybe gets to 40. I know that's wishful thinking, but already those goals that he gets is fantastic. Blake, 17 goals. He's only going to jump up as well. Logan Stankoven, he's at minimum a half a point per game player, I think, right now. So if he plays 82 games in a season, he's going to get at least 41 easily. He's going to be a bigger point than that guy. I think he's definitely someone that gets to the 50s of points again. And so the depth on this team is fine. It's just the freaking center of the ice. Because you got Hall on the third line. I love that. That's fantastic. If Kotkaniemi could jump to the third and Stahl's on the fourth, they need a centerman. And to me, out there right now, Brayden Schenn seems to be a name that could be flowing around, and he's a centerman, two-way guy that really adds some strong Stanley Cup experience, winning experience as well. And to me, that's something that this team could really have, is a taller, stronger, grittier kind of player that really fights for it with his heart. I would love that from Brayden Schenn to get on a team like the Hurricanes, and I feel like it would really work. He's a captain, he's a strong player, and he's a perfect fit for me in my head for a team like the Hurricanes. Or do you go for a young gun again, like Marco Rossi? Do you go for a young gun like him and you try to hope that he develops really into something spectacular? Problem with that is that it's more of the same about the Hurricanes. They're not a small team, but they're not gritty. They're not big and feisty like the Panthers are, right? The team that always knocks them out. That would be one thing that holds them back, but at the same time, let's be honest, no one's going to be the Panthers. So, and if you try to, then I don't know. They're not going to be the Panthers, so it's like you might as well just go with the best that you can get. And Rossi, they got still $6 million to spend. They could trade for him in some kind of trade, sign him easily. They'd have the money for it. Brayden Schenn doesn't get paid too much that they could easily fit a contract like that under their books. And it feels like nowadays the trade room isn't ridiculous. I don't think this team needs a trade for a guy like Robertson. I don't think this team needs a trade for, I would say maybe a guy like Laine, but now that they got Ehlers, I don't think they need it anymore. I was kind of more thinking that they might lose him. But since they got Ehlers, they don't need any more scoring wingers. They need some strong center material. Schenn, and I don't think you get a third liner, right? I don't think you pad the team with depth centermen. You got to get that second line center. And a Schenn, to me, if the rumors are true, which who knows if they ever are, would fit perfectly. Another issue with this team in my head is playoff material kind of players, right? And I know I just said you don't need scoring wingers, but you need someone. No one on this team other than kind of Svechnikov in the playoffs last year was showing up, right? They weren't the guys that were getting those big goals. To me, a guy that feels like could be traded for the right price and I don't think would be totally opposed is a Jonathan Marchessault. I think Marchessault is he's a Conn Smythe winner. The guy loves the playoffs. He plays in the big moments, and he had a bad season with the Predators. I don't think he's a good fit there, and I feel like him switching sides and going to a team like the Hurricanes, maybe not for the full season, but at the trade deadline, if the Canes can make a move for him, I think that's a good fit. And to me, I like that, right? But then next step, Defense. Slavin, Miller, left-hand side of the ice, fantastic. I like Slavin. I mean, who doesn't? Fantastic player. Deserves a Norris. Is the best defensive defender in the league. Keandre Miller, I know it's a controversial trade. I like him a lot. I think the trade is actually a good move. And Gosh Despair, left side of the ice, fine, totally fine, especially for a team that needed that offense, trying to drive up some offense, do something creative, do something with the puck, try to do something dangerous. Might not always work, but with Keandre Miller, with Nikolaj Ehlers, that's going to help them out, especially on that just depressing power play of theirs. I think those two guys on the ice are going to change up the dynamic of it and make something creative happen, try to actually create some offense. And to me, Miller and Gosh Despair, great for the power play. Right side of the ice is where I'm confused. Jalen Chatfield, I am personally huge fan of Chatfield. Is he a first-line right-handed guy? No. Second, I would be okay with him on the second line, but him and Sean Walker, those two are perfect material for the second and third pairing. I don't know who or where, or which side you go, especially with the Hurricanes just being like such a strong, well-rounded team. I don't think it really matters which pairing they're on, just they throw out who needs to be out there at the time. But they need one more guy. And of course, Nikishin deserves his chance to be in the NHL, but to me, They need that one more strong defenseman to be over the edge good. And who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you start the season and Nikishin becomes immediately like a Calder material player. Then I'm wrong. Jalen Chatfield, maybe he steps up to that first line role or second line with Miller, and maybe he works perfect. I mean, I really do like Jalen Chatfield a lot, so I like the idea of him getting that opportunity at that role. But I have to see it to believe it first, and I don't believe it right now, even though I'm a huge fan of his. But then another thing, of course, that is always shaky for this Hurricanes team is goaltending. Freddie Anderson is so injury-prone. Kochetkov always crumbles under the pressure and is not a starter. If something goes wrong to Freddie Anderson, I don't trust Kochetkov. Who else is there right now? The Canes drafted a young goaltender. He's not going to be playing. They get Caden Primo. I doubt he's going to be playing, but who knows? They need that. I feel like they are a team that really needs a goaltending, they need a new backup, but Kochetkov is the backup. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the current place the Canes goaltending is at. Because right now, if Freddie Anderson goes down, Kochetkov steps up, and I don't like that. I don't like the idea of this team having to have 3 NHL-level goaltenders. This is and that's, to me, I feel like this is a team. The Canes should move on from Kochetkov, try to get something back in his replacement, and get but then once again, the goalie market is like absolutely shallow. So I don't really know what they do about that. Goaltending, I think, is a thing they can work on, though, in the season. You know, goaltenders, you trade for goalies, they always go for way less than you think. But to me, overall, this Hurricane squad, I love this move for them. Ehlers is a great pickup. If they could find someone in the middle of the ice to step up to that, if they find someone for that role, it's not going to be in free agency. They're going to have to trade for someone. That would be huge. If some big centerman becomes like a trade target and then some big rumors and they're true, the Canes have better be the team that is right on it, right on the button to try to get them on that team. I don't know who it is. I don't know how true rumors ever are. There's always 20 names that are out on trade rumors and they never get traded. So I don't really know what to think about all that. I don't really know what's going to happen because I don't really know if the Canes will do anything. But they've shown that they were willing. Eric Tulsky is willing to do some big moves, and I believe in him to do something right. We'll see what happens. But that is all I got to say. So thank you for watching this. Too sweet. I hope you have an amazing day. And ta-ta for now.